The screen door slammed behind me like a gunshot in the sticky Tennessee night. And there he was, Jackson Hale, all 6'2" of him, shirtless and glistening from whatever late summer chore had him out back. His hazel eyes locking onto mine with a hunger that hit me harder than the humid air. "Oliver," he said, voice low and gravelly, like he'd been waiting for this exact second. "You crashing here tonight? Max is out cold already. Won't even know you're gone." I froze on the porch steps, heart pounding because my best friend Max was passed out inside from too many beers at the bonfire. And here was his big brother, the one I'd crushed on since freshman year, inviting me in like it was nothing, like he hadn't spent the last 4 years pretending I was just the awkward kid tagging along. But then he stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the faint tang of sweat and cedar cologne on him. And before I could mumble some excuse about heading home, his hand, rough from fixing trucks at the garage, brushed my jaw, tilting my chin up. "I've been thinking about you," he whispered, thumb tracing my lower lip, and in that split second, the world narrowed to the heat of his breath on my skin, the distant hum of cicadas mocking the roar in my ears. It wasn't a kiss. Not yet. But it was a promise, or maybe a theft, stealing the air right out of my lungs and leaving me dizzy, exposed, utterly wrecked. I don't know if it was the beer buzzing in my veins or the way his eyes darkened like storm clouds over the Smoky Mountains, but I nodded, words failing me as he pulled me inside, the door clicking shut behind us like the lock on a secret neither of us could ever take back. File 1. The Hale house smelled like it always did. Faded laundry detergent mixed with the sharp bite of motor oil that clung to Jackson like a second skin. Max's snores rumbled from the living room couch, a testament to the epic fail of our post-graduation rager down by the river. We'd all graduated from Oak Ridge High 2 months back, diplomas still crisp in drawers, futures as hazy as the July heat. Me? I was killing time at the local library, shelving books and dreaming of Nashville songwriter circles, anything to escape the slow bleed of small-town life. Max was crashing at home, figuring out community college. And Jackson. God, Jackson was the golden boy, 23 and already running the family auto shop, tattoos snaking up his arms like vines claiming an old oak. He led me down the dim hallway, past family photos that made my stomach twist, little Max with a gap-toothed grin, Jackson in his football jersey from high school, all-American charm that hid the cracks I only glimpsed in stolen moments. We'd never talked about it, the way I'd watch him from the bleachers during games, heart in my throat when he'd spike the ball and flash that crooked smile to the crowd. Or the summer before senior year, when he'd caught me staring a beat too long in the garage, grease-streaked and shirtless, and instead of calling me out, he'd just handed me a wrench with a wink that lingered like smoke. Tonight, though, felt different. Charged. He pushed open the door to his room, the one with the sagging twin bed and posters of classic muscle cars peeling at the edges. "Make yourself at home," he said, flipping on a lamp that cast golden shadows over the clutter, wrenches on the dresser, a half-read Tom Clancy novel dog-eared on the nightstand. I perched on the edge of the mattress, knees bouncing like I was still that scared kid coming out to my mom over lukewarm meatloaf, her silence louder than any rejection. Jackson grabbed a couple of Cokes from the mini-fridge in the corner, the fizz cutting through the tension as he handed me one. Our fingers brushed, and electricity shot up my arm. Stupid, cliché, but real as the calluses on his palms. "You okay?" he asked, sinking down beside me, close enough that his thigh pressed against mine. Heat radiated off him, pulling me in like gravity. "Yeah, I lied, taking a swig to steady myself. Just surprised. Max never mentioned you were bi. He finished for me, the word hanging heavy. His laugh was soft, self-deprecating. Nah, he doesn't know. Nobody does, really. Dad's got his Bible study group breathing down his neck. And Mom, she's fragile since the divorce. Figured it'd wait till I get out of here for good. I nodded, throat tight. Coming out in Oak Ridge was like painting a target on your back. Whispers in the diner, side eyes at the gas station. I'd lucked out with my folks. Dad clapped me on the shoulder with a love's love, son, and Mom baked cookies like it was no big deal. But Jackson, he carried the weight of expectations like an anchor, all broad shoulders and quiet strength. We talked then, really talked, for the first time. About the shop's long hours. How he hated the way customers treated him like the help even though he owned the damn place. About my half-finished songs scribbled in notebooks, lyrics too raw to share. The Coke went flat between us, and somewhere in the haze of words, his hand found mine, lacing our fingers like it was the most natural thing. You're not like the others, Oliver, he murmured, voice dropping an octave. You see me. Not the brother, not the grease monkey. Me. I turned to him, pulse thundering, and that's when he kissed me, slow at first, tentative, like he was testing if I'd bolt. I didn't. I leaned in, tasting salt and sweetness, my free hand fisting in his hair as the world tilted. It was messy, urgent, all the pent-up years pouring out in gasps and touches that mapped uncharted skin. His shirt hit the floor, then mine, and we tumbled back onto the bed, a tangle of limbs and whispered confessions under the whir of the box fan. By dawn, tangled in sheets that smelled like him, I lay there tracing the ink on his chest. A compass rose over his heart, pointing nowhere and everywhere. This doesn't have to be a one-time thing, he said, propping up on an elbow, morning light slanting through the blinds to gild his stubble. We could figure it out. Sneak around, maybe, until I save enough to blow this town. My chest ached with hope, foolish and bright. I'd like that, I whispered, and meant it, even as doubt flickered like a bad bulb. Max stirring in the living room was our cue to untangle, but as I slipped out the back door with a stolen kiss and a promise to text, I felt alive, really alive, for the first time since the cap and gown ceremony. The next few weeks blurred into a secret rhythm. Stolen hours at the quarry after shifts, where we'd park his beat-up Ford pickup under the pines and lose ourselves in each other, the radio crooning Johnny Cash ballads as the sun dipped low. Diner meetups disguised as hanging with Max, where his foot would hook around my ankle under the Formica table. I sang what words couldn't. Texts at 2 a.m., memes and inside jokes that made my phone buzz like a lifeline. But secrets in a town like Oak Ridge, they fester. Max started noticing, teasing me about my glow-up, asking why I bailed on game nights. You got a girl or something, Ollie? He'd rib, chugging a Mountain Dew on his parents' porch swing. I'd laugh it off, blame the library's new coffee machine, but guilt gnawed at me like termites in old wood. Jackson felt it too. One night, fog rolling off the Clinch River, we sat on the tailgate, his arm slung around my shoulders. I love this, he said, voice rough. You. But it's killing me, hiding like we're ashamed. You're not ashamed, I said fiercely, turning to cup his face. We're just surviving. He kissed my knuckles, eyes distant. Got an interview in Knoxville next week. Mechanic gig at a bigger shop. Better pay. Maybe an apartment. We could make it real. Ollie. No more back seats and shadows. My heart soared, then plummeted. Knoxville was an hour away, close enough for weekends, far enough to breathe. Say yes, he pressed, and I did, sealing it with a kiss that tasted like freedom. But freedom's a fragile thing. 2 days later, I was at the library, restocking the romance section, irony thick as the humidity when my phone pinged. Not Jackson's usual hard eyes emoji, but a link from an anonymous number. Curiosity clicked before caution could stop me. It was a photo, Jackson, arm around a girl named Becca from his high school graduating class, her head on his shoulder at what looked like a family barbecue. Caption, Future Misses. Hail, congrats. Jack, the date stamp? Last weekend. While I'd been home strumming guitar to songs about him. Betrayal hit like a sucker punch, hot tears blurring the screen. I stormed out, keys jangling, driving aimless loops past the shop where his truck sat empty. By nightfall, I was pounding on the Hale front door, Max answering with bleary eyes. Ollie? What's up? Man? Where's Jackson? My voice cracked, raw as exposed wire. Out with Becca. Some double date thing. Why? I didn't answer. Just turned and walked into the dark, the river's murmur mocking my shattered illusions. He'd lied. Or worse, maybe the quarry kisses were the lie. A phase, a detour before the white picket fence. I didn't sleep. Dawn found me at the quarry, skipping stones across the water, each plunk a curse. My phone stayed silent, no apologies, no explanations. By noon, resolve hardened like cooling tar. I confront him. End it clean. But as I pulled up to the shop, engine rumbling, there he was, laughing with a customer, sleeves rolled up, that easy charm on full blast. Jackson, I called, stepping out, voice steady despite the storm inside. He turned, smile faltering. Ollie? Hey, I was gonna save it. I thrust my phone at him, the photo glaring. Who's she? And don't bullshit me. His face drained of color, eyes darting to the empty lot. It's not Becca's, just a friend. Family set it up. Dad's been on me about settling down proper. I didn't know how to tell you without. Without what? Breaking my heart twice. Laughter bubbled up. Bitter. God. Jackson. I thought we were building something. Real. But you're still playing house for them. I'm sorry, he whispered, reaching for me. I jerked back, the space between us a chasm. Don't. Just don't. I drove off, tires spitting gravel. The compass rose on his chest, burning in my mind, a directionless lie. Days bled into a week of radio silence. Max texted, worried. Dude, what gives? You ghosting me now? I couldn't face him. The betrayal too tangled in our friendship. Nashville called louder songwriting gigs, open mics, a fresh start. I packed a duffel, Mom hugging me tight at the door. Follow your heart, baby. Wherever it leads. The road north hummed under my tires. Dolly Parton on the stereo singing about working 9 to 5. But all I heard was Jackson's voice in my head. You see me. Knoxville blurred past. The taunt. By nightfall, I was crashing at a Fleabag motel off I-40, Notebook open, pen flying. Words spilled. Verses about stolen nights. Choruses of shattered trust. Your touch was thunder. Your goodbye rain. It hurt, carving it out, but it healed to a purge. 2 months in Nashville. Gigs at dive bars turning heads. A roommate named Theo who flirted harmlessly over late-night ramen. Life stitched itself back, thread by thread. Then, one rainy October evening, post set at the Bluebird Cafe, my phone lit up. Jackson's name, after all this time. I'm in town. Need to see you. Please. Heart in my throat. I typed back. Ryman, 8 p.m. One chance. The auditorium's pews creaked under ghosts of legends. Hank, Patsy, echoes of what could be. He slipped in late, soaked from the downpour, eyes haunted. "Ollie," he breathed, sliding beside me, close but not touching. "Talk," I said, arms crossed. He exhaled, story tumbling out. Becca was a setup, a beard for his dad's church crowd. He'd gone to shut it down, told her the truth about me, about us. She'd understood, even hooked him up with a queer-friendly therapist in Knoxville. "I panicked," he admitted, voice breaking. "After you left, it hit me. I was losing the only real thing I'd ever had. Quit the shop, moved here last month. Starting over. For you. If you'll have me." Rain pattered the stained glass. Mercy in the gray. I searched his face, seeing the boy beneath the man. Scared, hopeful. "It won't be easy," I warned. "Nashville's loud, fast. And trust. That's shattered glass." "I know." His hand hovered, waiting. "But I'm all in. No more hiding." I took it, fingers intertwining, the Ryman's hush wrapping us like absolution. Not fixed, not yet, but possible. Human. Nashville swallowed us whole that first winter, a neon heartbeat pulsing through honky-tonks and hidden alleys where secrets thrived like kudzu. Jackson crashed on my couch at first, his duffel bulging with flannels and toolkits, eyes wide at the city's relentless hum. "Feels like a dream," he'd say, stirring instant coffee at dawn while I nursed a hangover from last night's songwriter round. Theo, bless his dramatic soul, raised one perfectly arched brow but kept his mouth shut. Mostly. "If he breaks your heart again, I'll key his truck," he muttered once, tossing me a wink over breakfast burritos. We built slow, deliberate, like laying bricks after a tornado. Mornings at the Continental Club for open mics, where I'd strum my guitar and he'd nurse a sweet tea in the corner, nodding along to lyrics that still stung with his name veiled in metaphors. Afternoons, he'd tinker with bikes at a startup garage in East Nashville, coming home grease-smeared and grinning, pulling me into showers that steamed up the mirror with more than water. Nights, tangled in my too-small bed, his whispers tracing my spine. "Love you, Ollie. Every damn stubborn inch. Love." He said it first, over greasy fries at a late-night spot on Broadway, fireworks exploding over the Cumberland for New Year's. I echoed it back, the word foreign and fitting, like a key turning in a rusted lock. But love in the South, it's laced with lightning, beautiful until it strikes. The conflict brewed subtle at first. Jackson's past clung like damp rot. Calls from Oak Ridge, Dad's gruff, "When you coming home? Son? Shop's falling apart without you." Max's texts, probing. "Heard you're in Nash with Ollie? WTF? Bro, Bill. I urged Jackson to tell them, rip the Band-Aid, but he'd deflect, jaw tight. Not ready, he'd say, burying it in me, in us, until the weight pressed down. Then Becca showed up. Unannounced, mid-February, pounding on our door during a freak snow that blanketed the city in hush. She was all sharp bob haircut and city girl chic now, interning at a Knoxville ad firm, but her eyes, blue as faded denim, held the same hurt I'd felt months back. Jack, she said, steam rising from her boots. We need to talk. He froze in the doorway, me hovering behind like a guilty shadow. Theo was out, thank God, but the air crackled. Becca? What the? You ghosted me after that barbecue. After I covered for you. Her voice wobbled, not angry, wounded. I get it, the guy thing. But friends? We were friends. Jackson rubbed his neck. Classic tell. I should have called. It was messy. Ollie's. Important. She glanced at me, sizing up, then softened. The one from the photo, cute. Treat him right. Hail. Or I'll haunt you. It ended in awkward hugs. Her number reprogrammed as emergency beard, but the visit unearthed ghosts. That night, tangled in sheets, Jackson confessed more, the pressure from his dad, the church picnics where he'd smile through sermons on sin, the fear that loving me meant losing his family. You're not losing them, I said, tracing his tattoos. You're choosing you. Us. He nodded, but doubt lingered, a shadow in his laugh. Spring bloomed, and so did we. A weekend road trip to the Smokies, tent pitched by a rushing creek, stars wheeling overhead as we made love slow and deliberate, fireflies winking approval. Back in Nash, he surprised me with tickets to a Luke Bryan concert. Ironic, given the bro country vibes, but we danced in the crowd, his hands on my hips, unashamed. Strangers' glances slid off us. Here, in Music City, we were just another couple swaying to the beat. But Betrayal's a boomerang. Came via Max, unfiltered and furious, storming into our apartment one muggy June afternoon. I'd let him in, thinking reconciliation, hugs, beers, brotherly catch-up. Instead, he exploded the second Jackson walked through the door from a shift. You screwing my best friend? Max roared, face red as a stoplight, shoving Jackson against the fridge. Cans rattled. Dad called, said you up and left the shop for some fairy tale in Nashville. And now this? Ollie, what the hell? Man? Jackson shoved back, gentle but firm. Max, calm down. It's not. Screwing around? Yeah. It is. Max's eyes swung to me. Betrayal double-barreled. You, my bro, behind my back, all those times you ditched me for errands. It was him. Guilt clawed my gut. Max, we didn't mean to hurt you. It just happened. Happened. He laughed. Hollow. Like Dad's heart attack last month? You bailed, Jack. Left him dying in that hospital bed while you played house here. And you, Ollie, stole my brother like he's some prize. Jackson's face crumpled. I didn't know about Dad. Why didn't you call? Thought you'd come running. Prove you gave a damn. Max's voice cracked, the tough kid facade splintering. But nah. You're too busy chasing rainbows. He stormed out, door slamming like Judgment Day. Jackson sank to the floor, head in hands. He's right. I am selfish. Dad's sick. And I. No, I knelt, pulling him close. You're human. Flawed. But you're here now. Call him. Fix it. He did. Voicemail after voicemail, please laced with regret. Days turned to weeks of silence from Oak Ridge, our bubble punctured. Jackson withdrew, shifts lengthening, smiles forced. I poured it into music, a ballad called Brother's Shadow, raw and aching, that landed me a spot at a festival showcase. Climax hit like a summer squall, mid-July, heat wave baking the city. Dad called Jackson, voice frail over speakerphone. Son, come home. Before it's too late. We drove that night, windows down, Dolly crooning Jolene as irony. The hospital in Knoxville reeked of antiseptic and regret. Dad's room a dim cave of beeps and wilted flowers. He looked small in the bed, oxygen mask fogging his breaths, but his eyes, hazel like Jackson's, sharpened on us. Who's this? Nod to me. Ollie, Jackson said, throat bobbing. My partner. Silence stretched, taut as a bowstring. Dad's gaze flicked between us, processing. Then, slow. He treat you right? Jackson blinked. Yeah. More than right. A nod. Weary. Good. Life's short. Boy. Don't waste it hiding. No sermons. No fire and brimstone. Just truth. Stripped bare. Max waited in the hall, arms crossed, but when Jackson hugged him, he didn't pull away. Missed you. Idiot, Max muttered. Even if you're a pain in my ass. Becca swung by later, bearing contraband Krispy Kremes. Family meeting? She quipped, but her hug to Jackson lingered. Forgiveness in the squeeze. By dawn, as we drove back to Nash, Jackson's hand in mine felt anchored, storm-weathered, roots deep. But humanism's no fairy tale. Dad rallied, then faded, passing in August under a harvest moon. The funeral was a blur of casseroles and condolences, Jackson eulogizing with a voice steady as oak. He taught me to fix what's broken. Love's the hardest fix. I stood beside him, hand brushing his. Max on the other side, brothers, mending. Fall brought renewal. Jackson proposed expanding the garage gig to Nashville. Hybrid life. I signed with a small label. My album, Corey Hearts, dropping tracks that charted indie playlists. We got a dog. A scruffy mutt named Compass, who chased his tail in our tiny yard. Yet scars linger. Late nights, Jackson wakes sweating from dreams of rejection, and I hold him, humming lullabies. Max visits, ribbing us over Vols games, but the ease is earned, fragile. Betrayal taught us. Love's not possession, but choice. Renewed daily. One crisp November eve, post-show at the basement, we walked the gulch, lights twinkling like misplaced stars. Surprised me that first night, Jackson said, stopping under a string of bulbs. You, staying. Changing everything. I grinned, pulling him close. Best surprise of my life. Our kiss tasted of bourbon and forever. Dramatic, emotional, unapologetically us. Winter wrapped Nashville in a deceptive chill that second year. Frost etching the windows of our new place. A shotgun house in the Wedgwood Houston Arts District, where murals splashed color against gray skies and food trucks hawked biscuits with a southern twist. Jackson had surprised me with the lease over Thanksgiving. Keys jingling like Christmas bells as we hauled boxes past galleries buzzing with queer artists and folk singers strumming for tips. Our fortress, he called it, painting the kitchen a bold turquoise that made his eyes pop. Compass yipped approval, tail wagging as he claimed the sunroom rug. Life settled into a groove, the kind you earn after earthquakes, steady, but with aftershocks. Mornings started with coffee on the porch swing, Jackson's legs tangled with mine, debating set lists over the morning news, floods in East Tennessee, a new queer rights bill snaking through Congress. About time, he'd grunt, scrolling headlines, his mechanic's hands, still faintly scarred from shop days, cupping his mug. I'd nod, sketching lyrics on napkins, weaving his quiet strength into choruses about resilient love. Max had thawed by Christmas, driving down with a cooler of venison jerky and stories from Oak Ridge. Mom's dating some accountant, total square, he reported over eggnog, Jackson laughing till he snorted. We played cards against humanity till 2 a.m., Theo crashing the party with his theater buddies, turning it into a full-blown queer rager. No tiptoeing around us anymore. Max even high-fived Jackson after a particularly filthy round. Proud of you, bro, he said later, clapping Jackson's shoulder. For all of it, Becca became the wildcard glue. She'd relocated to Nashville for a marketing gig, crashing girls' nights with Theo and me, wine-fueled rants about dating apps and the patriarchy. Jack's lucky, she'd say, clinking glasses. You too? Endgame. Her presence mended old rifts. She'd been Jackson's first real ally, the one who'd whispered, "It's okay to want more," during that ill-fated barbecue. But paradise has parasites. Jackson's expansion hit snags, investors balking at his unconventional partnership status, whispers of small-town bias following him north. They think it's a phase, he vented one night, slamming a wrench in the garage we'd converted from the basement. Like loving you makes me less of a businessman. I pulled him into a hug. Oil-streaked shirt be damned. Their loss. You're building something real. My career, meanwhile, ignited like dry tinder. Corey Hart's snagged a Grammy nod for Best New Artist, indie category. But still, the call from my manager had me whooping through the house, Jackson lifting me off my feet in a spin that scattered sheet music. Red carpet dreams loomed, but so did the glare. Paparazzi sniffing for scandals, fans dissecting lyrics for Who's the Muse? Jackson took it in stride, polishing my boots for interviews, but I saw the flicker, pride laced with fear of the spotlight's burn. The real storm brewed in spring, when dads will surfaced. Oak Ridge executors unearthed a codicil. The family home, the shop, contingent on Jackson honoring traditions. Vague legalese, but the lawyer's tone dripped implication. Marry a woman, settle down proper, or forfeit. Max called, furious. It's bullshit, Jack. Mom's fighting it, but the church elders. They're pushing. Jackson laughed it off at first, over burgers at Prince's Hot Chicken. Let M. I'm not selling my soul for a deed. But nights deepened, his sleep fractured by what-ifs. What if they cut me out? He'd murmur, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy whirl. Max needs the stability. And you, Nashville's eating your wallet alive. Don't, I'd say, curling against him. We're enough. Climax crashed like a mudslide in May, during a showcase at Mercy Lounge. I was mid-set, belting shadow promises, our story in verse, when the crowd parted for him. Not Jackson. His dad's old pastor, Brother Harlan, all fire and brimstone in a polyester suit, flanked by 2 deacons. Signs hoisted, repent or perish. Homosexuality is sin. Hecklers. In Nashville, of all places. Phones whipped out, flashes popping as I faltered on a cord. Security swarmed, but not before Harlan bellowed. Boy, your mama raised you better. Jackson's shaming the family for your kind. The mic dropped, literal and figurative. Backstage, I retched into a trash bin, Theo rubbing circles on my back. Jackson burst in minutes later, face thunderous. I got this, he growled, storming out to confront them in the alley. I followed, heart hammering. Harlan loomed, Bible clutched like a weapon. Hale blood's tainted now. Tell your brother to come home. Make it right. Jackson stepped forward. Chin up. Right? You mean hide who I am? Love who I love? No, sir. Dad saw me, really saw before he died. Said life's too short for your hate. Harlan sputtered. Deacons shifting uneasy as sirens wailed. Cops on speed dial for protesters. You'll burn. Boy, better than freezing in your shadow. Jackson turned, grabbing my hand, pulling me through the crowd. Cheers erupted, fans, allies drowning the venom. But betrayal's blade twists. Harlan wasn't done. Days later, a letter arrived, disinheritance formalized. Shop sold to a cousin, home to Max with strings. Jackson stared at the notary seal, crumpling it. It's over. Everything Dad built. Gone. I expected rage, but he went quiet, dangerous quiet. That night, he packed a bag. Need space. Ollie. To think. Think about what? Panic clawed. Us. This life. Is costing too much. He left for a motel. Radio silence stretching to a week. I drowned in gigs. Lyrics bleeding despair. Theo force-feeding me takeout. Max called. He's spiraling. Man. Blames himself for dragging you into the mess. On day 8, I found him at the quarry, our spot, transplanted in memory. Sitting on a boulder, skipping stones, compass at his feet. Missed you, he said, voice small. I sat beside, space between like a fault line. Missed you more. But running, that's not us. He exhaled. Story spilling. Therapy sessions unearthed old wounds. Dad's unspoken disapproval. Mom's enabling silence. The will was the trigger, forcing a mirror. I thought I was past it. But losing the legacy. It broke something. Then we rebuild. I took his hand. Not their version. Ours. Tears tracked his cheeks. Rare as rain in drought. Love you too much to drag you down. You're not. You're lifting me. Our kiss was salt and renewal. Fierce under the pines. Summer healed slow. We attended PFLAG meetings. Jackson sharing haltingly, finding brothers in flannel and stories of exile. Max deeded him a plot of land. For your garage, dumbass. Defying the will. Becca threw a rebirth barbecue, complete with drag queens and a cake-iced Hale yeah. By August, Jackson's shop reopened, Hale and Heart Auto. Logo a compass entwined with a guitar string. My album went gold, tours beckoning, but we mapped it together, weekends home, calls at midnight. Humanism whispered in the margins. No tidy bows, just grace in the grit. One dawn, as coffee brewed and compass snored, Jackson knelt, not with a ring, but a key. Build with me? Every broken piece. I pulled him up. Yes, in my eyes. Love's a road trip. Detours and all dramatic. Deep. Defiantly ours. Autumn's palette painted Nashville in golds and crimsons that third year. Leaves crunching under boots as we navigated the labyrinth of commitment. Jackson's shop thrived. A haven for artists' rides and queer kids seeking oil changes without judgment. Word spread via Instagram reels of him wrenching under rainbow flags. I'd tour the circuit, Atlanta dives to Austin stages, voice raw with tales of redemption, fans singing back choruses like anthems. Homecomings were rituals. Him at arrivals with a thermos of chicory coffee, me collapsing into his arms, the scent of him erasing road-weary miles. But romance, that heady wine, soured subtle. Theo called it the itch, 7-year, but accelerated for us, forged in fire. Jackson withdrew into work. Blueprints for expansion consuming evenings. I'd return to cold dinners, songs unfinished. Miss the quarry talks, I'd say, curling against his back as he pored over invoices. Miss them too, he'd murmur, but his hand stayed on the ledger. Not me. Max noticed on a visit, nursing a beer on our porch. He's scared. Ollie. Success means eyes on us, permanence. What if it crumbles? I brushed it off, but doubt seeded. Then, Betrayal's sequel. A client at the shop. Riley, tattoo drummer from my label. All smirks and shared spotlights. Flirting started innocuous. Post-gig drinks. Him complimenting my fire. Jackson saw. Jaw ticking. Watch it, he warned one night, after Riley's hand lingered too long on my arm at a release party. He's a colleague, I snapped, buzzed on bourbon. Not every guy's a threat, isn't he? Jackson's eyes flashed, old insecurities roaring. You glow around him. Like you used to with me. The fight escalated. Words weapons, his accusations of neglect. Mine of paranoia. Doors slammed. I crashed at Theo's, pen flying furious verses. You built walls where we once broke chains. Days blurred. Radio silence a chasm. Climax detonated in December. Snow dusting the city like powdered sugar on regret. I was headlining the Ryman. Full circle, Corey Hart's live. Sold out crowd electric. Backstage. Nerves jangling. A text from Max. Jack's here. Front row. Don't fuck it up. Heart lurching. I scanned the pews mid-set. There he was. Hazel eyes locked on mine. Face etched with apology. The spotlight burned. But his gaze anchored. I poured it out. Every ache. Every hope. In an encore of Broken Compass. Voice cracking on the bridge. You pointed north. But I lost the map in your storm. Crowd hushed. Then erupted. Postbow. He met me at the stage door. Bouquet of wildflowers, daisies from the quarry in hand. Proud of you, he said. Voice thick. And sorry. For doubting us. I pulled him into the green room. Door locking with finality. Me too. For letting Miles make me blind. Our reconciliation was slow burn. Kisses tasting of sweat and forgiveness. Hands relearning paths. Marry me? He whispered later. Ring box from his pocket. A simple band etched with coordinates of our first night. Tears pricked. Yes. God. Yes. Wedding planning infused winter with whimsy. No cathedral. A backyard affair in Oak Ridge. Pines as canopy. Max officiating after online ordination. Cheaper than a suit. Mom fussed over boutonnieres. Becca coordinated drag queens for entertainment. Theo choreographed the first dance to a KD. Lang cover. Jackson's mom, tentative at first, arrived with a quilt, hand-stitched, heirloom from Dad's side. "For your bed," she said, hugging him fierce. Warm nights ahead. Spring bloomed the ceremony. Me in linen, him in chambray, vows exchanged under a arch of dogwoods. "I choose you," Jackson said, voice steady. In shadows and spotlights, broken and whole, rings slid on, sealing it. Reception raged, barbecue, bluegrass, compass as ring-bearer, tail a blur. Honeymoon in the Keys, Florida sun melting tensions, snorkeling reefs where fish darted free. Back home, life layered deeper. Adoption talks for a sibling set from foster care. Shop franchising to Knoxville. Conflicts arose. Tour schedules clashing with parent-teacher nights, but we therapied through. Humanism in the humility. One humid July eve. Post-recital for our kids. Lila, 7 and sassy. Theo Jr., 5 and shy. We grilled on the deck. Fireflies dancing. Jackson slung an arm around me, watching them chase sparks. "Surprised me. Staying that night," he said soft. "Best decision." I leaned in, heart full. Ours to keep, yet drama lingered. A spice. A tabloid scoop on my rocky road to rings stirred old ghosts, Harlan's ilk picketing a show. Jackson faced them down, megaphone in hand. "Love wins. Get off my stage." Viral video. Allies rallying. Summer's end brought by Kitsch's whisper. Lila's school bully. Echoes of our youth. We advocated. Jackson testifying at board meetings. Me penning a children's book. Compass Kids on brave hearts. Resolution. Not erasure, but education. The bully's family joining PFLAG. Fall tours called. But now with family cameos. Max opening with comedy sets. Becca managing merch. Human bonds. Woven tight. By Thanksgiving. Gathered round a table groaning with turkey and tails. I glanced at Jackson. Gray threading his temples. Laugh lines etched deep, and knew. Romance endures not in perfection, but persistence. Emotional, raw, eternally American. Years folded like well-worn sheet music. Nashville's rhythm syncing with our pulse as the decade turned. The shop evolved into a collective Hale Hearts hub, mentoring at-risk youth in mechanics and music. Jackson's compass tattoo now inked on a dozen apprentices' arms. My discography swelled. Shadows to symphonies. A concept album tracing our arc. Grammy gold gleaming on the mantle beside Lila's finger paintings and TJ's Lego towers. Family life was chaos choreographed school runs in the Ford. Now electric for green cred. Bedtime stories blending Dolly lyrics with Dylan Thomas. Date nights at hidden speakeasies. Reclaiming sparks amid sippy cups. But life's a blues riff, major keys laced with minors. Conflict resurfaced in midlife guises. Jackson's back, strained from wrenching, forcing a pivot to consulting. Feel like I'm fading, he confessed one rain-lashed night, staring at reflection lines. I massaged knots, humming reassurance, but fear echoed. Would time erode us like river rock? Betrayal, that old fiend, slithered back via proxy. A protege at the hub, young and starry-eyed, confessed a crush on Jackson during a group therapy share. Innocent, but whispers flew, gossip mill grinding old scandals. Max, now a counselor himself, shut it down, Idiot stirring shit. You're solid. Still, it gnawed. Jackson withdrew, volunteering extra hours, avoiding mirrors. I channeled it into therapy. Couple sessions where we unpacked the what-ifs. What if we'd stayed hidden? What if Dad lived to see? Catharsis came slow, tears and truths forging steelier bonds. Climax crested in our 15th year, a silver anniversary shadowed by storm. Lila, now a teen firebrand, came out as non-binary. Alex, they slashed them over pancakes, voice trembling. Like you and Dad, they said. Ice fierce. Joy surged, but so did terror. Oak Ridge roots ran deep, and a school trip unearthed a cousin's homophobic rant online. Targeting the Hail freaks, Jackson ignited, driving to the family reunion uninvited, standing on the picnic grounds amid potato salad and suspicion. We're here, he declared, arm around Alex, me and TJ flanking. Love us or lose us. Your choice. Silence. Then fractures. Aunts hugging tentative. Uncles slinking away. Mom Hale pulled him aside. Tears streaming. Your dad's proud. Wherever he is. This is legacy. Harlan, aged and ailing, even nodded from his lawn chair. Grudging grace. A lifetime's arc bending toward light. The drive home was quiet triumph. Windows down. Wind whipping confessions. You did that, I said, squeezing his thigh. Stood tall. We did. His smile, crooked as ever, lit the dashboard. Post-storm, renewal reigned. Alex thrived, captaining the GSA. TJ composed electronica beats in the garage. We traveled cross-country in an Airstream, tracing Route 60 SIXS ghosts, pitching tents under big sky stars. Romance rekindled in motels with neon buzz, slow dances to crackly radios. Humanism's end note played bittersweet. Jackson's 60th loomed with a diagnosis, prostate, early, treatable, but the scare reframed. More grandkids' birthdays, fewer regrets. Chemo cycles blurred with chemotherapy, laughter our armor. Surprised me still, he joked post-remission, bald pate gleaming under porch lights. Staying, fighting, I kissed his crown. Wouldn't trade a verse, legacy unfolded. The Hub endowed a scholarship, my foundation funding queer youth arts. Max retired to a cabin. Becca ran for city council, our circle, unbreakable. One golden October dusk. By the Cumberland's Bend, we scattered Dad Hale's ashes, late release, Mom's gift. River swallowed them gentle, sun dipping in applause. To surprises, Jackson toasted with whiskey, arm around me. To us, our kiss, enduring, echoed the first, dramatic in depth, emotional in etchings, romantic in resilience, humanistic in hope. Years later, gray-haired on that same porch, Compass's grandpup at our feet. Lila, now Alex, wed under dogwoods, vowing echoes of ours. Jackson leaned in, breath warm, best plot twist. I grinned, heart full circle. In America's vast tapestry, flawed, fierce we'd woven gold. Not perfect, but profoundly ours. Fade out on laughter, the river's song eternal.